absolutely unbelievable is also the company Usercentrics. When you go on our YouTube channel, you will find that there was a presentation in 2018 already, when they just started, and now, well, it's one of the fastest growing German internet companies I have ever heard of. It's tremendous, and you obviously got a bit of tailwind with DMA, the new Data Privacy Act, which you're going to talk about. Elodie, please come on stage. You are visiting us from America, or both of you visit us from America, I should say. Thank you for coming, and both of you being the pregnancy. Thank you so much for coming. I mean, what an effort. If you ever want an investor who really gives everything, I guess Elodie is the one. And it's more about traveling. It's also about creativity and deal making, and you're going to talk about this in a second. Welcome on stage, Adelina. You grew Usercentrics to what it was through marketing, and Elodie is your star investor. So yes. Stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Nice to see everybody. So we were planning to just have a 10-minute chit-chat about the background on Usercentrics and ourselves. So Adelina, I know that we got a great intro here from Marco. Would love for you to give an update to everyone in the room on how the business is doing today, sort of where you guys are and where you're headed very quickly.
So I know you all heard a lot of pitches today, so just to get your attention a little bit, Usercentrics is at the moment approaching 100 million in ARR, while being profitable, EBITDA positive monthly for the last year. This year we're close to 50% growth already, so probably we'll reach 100% year-on-year growth. 600,000 customers, 6.2 billion data consents. I'm going to talk in a bit why am I mentioning this. And hiring 100 people in 2024 while maintaining profitability. So,
and just to clarify, that 6.2 billion consents, that's per month, right?
Yes, yeah. Monthly consent. So basically, we're in the space of data privacy. One of our key products is consent management platforms. We also have preference management systems and a few more products coming soon. Maybe you're all familiar with the web banners, but there is like consent management is basically the whole data flow between systems and browsers and everything. So it's the technology of how the data flows across multiple platforms.
Amazing. And you just joined the team not that long ago. Welcome. Could you share a little bit with the audience around what it was that attracted you to Usercentrics after a long career in very successful SaaS companies?
Yes, it was an interesting one. I've been in SaaS almost since its inception, mostly in productivity startups. And I noticed that over the last few years, they kind of became a commodity. So I was thinking, what's the next hottest industry? And then Usercentrics actually knocked on my door. And maybe the website didn't impress me much at that time, but I was very impressed to see a professional CEO and a woman, Donna, who's been amazing. And like, since I met her, I was like, this is on point to be a successful company with such leadership. And that's where I wanted to ask you to share today as well. You've been quite visionary to do this deal with us, like as our VC. And quite a few years ago, you saw this huge potential in us. So if you want to share a bit the story, the very interesting story of how this came to life.
Sure. So this is the inner makings of when you start a VC fund. But we were a fund one. We had a very fun time trying to raise in 2020 when it was a pandemic and nobody wanted to allocate to a new fund with no track record without being able to meet anybody. And we had a conversation with Misha over at Usercentrics, who said he was doing data privacy. And I loved the idea of a compliance-based software product because compliance is super boring and people buy the product, forget about it, and you just have some of the best retention rates because no one's excited to go change their compliance tools. And what Misha was doing, which was particularly interesting, he was the founder at Usercentrics, is he had come at the idea of GDPR and consumer privacy from the angle of marketers. And so he was actually successfully selling a compliance tool into a marketing budget. So I love the fact that you had the retention and safety of compliance, but typically no one is excited about expanding their compliance budget year over year, whereas on the marketing side, that tends to be one of the fastest growing budgets in an organization. And so a lot of compliance tools will have a high gross retention, but they also have a relatively low net retention. It's hard to upsell into a non-existing budget. Here, because it was targeting the marketing budget, you actually had a really attractive path into upsell. The piece of the story that gets interesting is we were in diligence on Usercentrics, and we were about 3 weeks into that process. And as we were looking at the competitive landscape, we identified Cookiebot, which was a Danish company, as a strong complementary competitor. Cookiebot was very focused on the long tail and SMB market, whereas Usercentrics was much more mid-market and enterprise. And almost instantly, it made sense to me that if you really wanted to be the leader in the category and to win in this industry, we had to put the two companies together. So I started talking to a lot of friendly firms that I was working with, because we certainly didn't have the capital to buy Cookiebot and merge it with Usercentrics. And almost everyone I talked to said, oh yeah, that's so funny, we know both of these companies, but we never had the idea to put them together. And to me, it was like the second you combine them, you become the category leader. You capture from long tail all the way up to enterprise. And no one cares that much about consumer privacy that they're going to run 100 RFPs to try to figure out the best solution. They're probably going to just buy whatever everyone else is using. So we ended up, fortunately, being able to raise the capital from our existing LPs, and we bought both businesses, merged them together in 2021. I had a sense that as the company became overnight, almost twice or 3 times the size it had been as independent businesses, it would be very helpful to have some professional management, and so we brought in Donna to be the new CEO. And the company has been just an unbelievable success story since. I think it was about 15 million of ARR just 3.5, 4 years ago. So very cool to see where you guys are going. And I think as we talk about sort of the visionary of the market, I couldn't have predicted DMA. I certainly felt like privacy was something that was going to continue. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about what DMA is exactly and why it's been such a game changer for Usercentrics, and I think will be sort of leading the world in how we think about consumer privacy going forward.
Yeah, data privacy is definitely driven by regulation, first of all, and now also people understanding that their data is precious and they mind more like where it's flowing into systems. I think the first regulation that we all know of is GDPR from 2018, and that helped us quite a lot to grow into this market. And at the moment in 2024, there was this like big milestone where instead of going directly to the businesses to be compliant, now we have like the intermediaries, the big tech, like Google, Meta, and so on, that now need to require their customers to be compliant. And that puts us in a very good spot because, as you said, marketing budget, that's like the most interesting one. And what we see, especially from this year, with Google saying, if you want to do Google ads or if you want to monetize your app and so on, you need to use a CMP, a consent management platform. And that puts us in a very good spot. Also, we managed to get a huge market share of that. It wasn't like up for the grabs for a lot of other players. But basically, this is a huge opportunity because now everything done online, and especially where the big tech players are mediating, it's requiring data consents. And we are like a third party that it's like respected in this field, and that's helping us propose quite further. And there are more and more regulations outside of Europe as well. Like in the States, there's a lot happening now in many other regions across the world.
And you guys just opened a US presence?
Yep, a new office in the Americas, growing there now. And that's besides the 5 offices we already have in Europe.
Yeah. So what's next for Usercentrics?
There's a lot of potential with this big inflection point with marketers paying attention now. We are looking into doing M&As. We are looking into launching more products into the market, products that are complementary. Going for all these markets where there is more and more legislations coming into this field, and also building a whole category around it, which we call privacy-led marketing.
Yeah. And just so that everyone understands, this company has reached this scale, this growth rate, and a very attractive, healthy EBITDA margin with something like, how much did you put on the balance sheet total? 15, 16 million ever in your lifetime? Unbelievable. And I would love for you to talk about retention rates too, just because that was something that I was very excited about.
Yes, amazing industry from this perspective. So once you set up where your data flows as a company, you don't really want to move much. So also offering our kind of products and how we help with everything, we got to 120 net retention rate, which is amazing, at least for me as a CMO, because I know that the business I'm bringing is going to continue bringing more revenue.
Yeah, and the gross retention rate is also north of 99%.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, so we have 15 seconds left. I would have loved to ask for questions, but I don't think we have time for that.
Yes,
Thank you. We do. Oh, who?
Of course, you have 2 questions, Elodie.
Okay.
You came from America.
I did.
Yes, go for it.
We're
Any
not-
questions?
No? Oh, we're just so thorough. Okay.
How big is the market, and is there Usercentrics in the US?
The market is almost as big as the baby I'm carrying, so I'm just kidding. She is enormous. So it's a really interesting question on TAM. We've done a lot of analysis, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint. We've gotten estimates from various groups that range from kind of the $3 to $4 billion range up into 70 plus. I think if we're talking 70 billion, it's assuming that every website on the planet has a CMP, which at some point will likely be the case, but it's not quite there today. Did you have a question, sir? Can you repeat it?
Yeah. So the question was, in a place where it's all about trust, how do we deal with gap analysis? We don't provide data analytics or anything like that. It's more around like registering what people are allowing you as a business to give consent to, where that's stored, how is it flowing between systems, who can share it with, and so on. So it wasn't much of a concern, but user trust is very important, and that's the whole premise of why a solution like us, it's starting to be not live just because of regulations, but also because exactly of individuals' trust. When they see these banners, when they see that everything is like well categorized and respected and so on, that goes a very long way.
And I think the other piece is the ability for users to request their data to be deleted or removed. So historically, it was very hard to understand what data was captured and how to go through a process of removing it, whereas Usercentrics makes that a lot simpler for users. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much, everybody.